everyone, it's me Roxanne, and I'm back with a new video featuring the Singer Quantum Stylist 9960. As many of you know, I've owned, used, and loved this machine for the past 8 years, and I'm going to do a video now talking about all the things I've learned since becoming an owner of this fabulous machine, and I'm going to answer some of my most frequently asked questions. So stay tuned! One of the most frequently asked questions I receive is about the startup sound of the sewing machine. So here is what it sounds like. That is very normal for a computerized machine, and what it's doing is it's recalibrating itself every time it's powered up. So it's totally normal. One of the most frequently asked questions I get about the Singer 9960 is, can the letters be made larger? The answer to this question is no. The letter and number stitches in the machine are preset to a designated size and they cannot be edited. Now, I put a few letters in so that you can see that I have A through E, and if you hit edit, you can see that there's no editing tool for length or width of stitch. You can only edit the tension. Since this machine is favored by many people who quilt, I wanted to address the issue of the walking foot. This is the walking foot that came with the Singer 9960, and one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, can I use the quilt bar with it? The answer is no, because unfortunately this walking foot does not have a hole to accommodate that accessory. Here I am at the top portion of the machine, just under the cover, the top cover, and one of the things that I've noticed over the past years is that owning an earlier generation as I do, I have this dial to control my LCD screen, and in later models those functions are handled through the front control panel. One of the things about this machine that took me some time to get used to was the backstitch button. If you're sewing along and you just keep sewing, you can use the backstitch button and it will go back quickly. But if you come to a stop and then want a backstitch, it goes very, very, very slowly, which I found to be very annoying, and I had to take time to get used to that. One thing I recently learned about the machine was involving thread guide number 1. Several members of our Facebook group have mentioned that they have had a split happen in this first thread guide. And what it seems to stem from is when they're threading thread guide number 1, they're pulling up and they're actually causing a split in the plastic housing. So instead of pulling up when you thread through thread guide number 1, just pull back and then thread the rest as usual. Now, if you've experienced a crack in this housing of thread guide number 1, you can smooth that out with a rotary tool and it will not affect the operation of your machine going forward. Another question I get very often is, what do I do if my needle threader stops working? I want to show you what the needle threader looks like. It's this white portion right here, this small piece. And this is how you remove it. You just press down and it will come right off. Now this piece can be purchased and you can replace it by just simply putting it back on and pressing down back into position, and you will hear a click. If you're anything like me, you like to sew with a little bit of a thread tail just to hold on as I get going. Now I'd like to give you a few tips for taking care of your automatic cutter. When you come to the end and you're ready to use the cutter, come to a complete stop and then press the cutter. It should make that loud sound. And then remove your fabric. Now, if your thread cutter did not cut completely, that means that underneath the throat plate, down by the cutter, you need to clean out that area very, very well. I want to caution you never to use canned air in your machine, because it ends up pushing the dirt and debris farther down toward the motor, and it also can introduce moisture in that area, which you don't want that to happen either. So another question I get is the fact that the thread gets left very short and no bobbin thread appears when you end using the cutter. That is very normal, and don't worry, you can just start sewing once again with no problems. But always, when you come to the end, always come to a complete stop and then use your cutter. And your cutter will continue to work after 8 years, just like mine. Out of all the questions I get asked about the Singer 9960, the most frequently asked question is about what size bobbin does the 9960 use? That's a difficult question to answer because my machine is 8 years old and it came with class 15J bobbins. I've always used class 15J and I've never had any problems with my machine. But it seems that some of the machines come with class 15 bobbins. So when this question started to arise, I bought this small package of class 15 just to inspect them and see what the difference was. Now, what I always tell new Singer 9960 owners is to take a bobbin that came with their machine, and I know this is a specific bobbin that came with my machine, and compare it to a 15J, which it looks identical, and compare it to a class 15. Now, if you notice, the class 15 has a ring around the outer edge, which my class 15J does not have. It's completely smooth. So I know that I have 15J as the bobbin for my machine, even though they are very, very similar. Another question that I get asked frequently is how often do you clean out your machine? I clean out my machine after every project, and if I'm working with something like velvet or fur that would cause a lot of extra fuzz, I may clean out my machine mid-project. I also change my needle out very often because I don't want my machine to struggle and cause strain. I also don't use this machine for super heavy duty items because I find that it struggles with very, very thick fabrications. So the more you know, the more you can maintain your machine and keep your Singer Quantum Stylist running for years to come. So thanks for watching my latest video. Have a happy creative day now. Bye.